Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, beta. Good morning. Shashank, good morning. Shashank,
Good morning, ma'am.
good morning. How are you?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Zainab. Good morning, beta.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Zainab, last class you were there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what we were doing.
Ma'am, we were doing flowcharts,
Right, we were doing flow.
and there were 5 flowcharts. One was left.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
one was left. So,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
okay, give me time to share the screen with you all, and we'll continue with the flow charts only, right? Right, class?
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, beta. Good morning. Today, lot of connectivity issues are there. Classes are not. Lot of problematic showing. ये नेट को भी लग रहा है ठंडा लग गया है, हाँ? क्यों? Net is also facing some problems, huh?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Aman. Not taking the device in, I don't know why. Connectivity. Om, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, beta Tanishka. Good morning.
Ma'am, what we are doing?
We'll be doing question answer.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, Tanvi. Yes, Om, I can hear you clearly. I am saying that
Okay,
we are going to do the excuse me, we are going to do the flow charts, right? So it's taking a few moments to get my second device connected, right? So as soon as it connects, I'll share the screen with you all. It is taking a little bit time. Yes, I think it got connected. Sir, he's asking that what is the page number?
Ma'am,
Good morning, beta. You are audible to us, but not to me. But I'm sharing the screen with you all. Can you see the screen, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the last flow chart that it is showing on the screen, class?
When your screen is taking time. Yes, ma'am. It's taking time.
Okay. Now,
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
okay, maybe there is some network issue.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, beta.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible.
Just a second. Now,
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
just a minute. Don't know what is the problem. Here it is showing it is connected.
Ma'am, please share it again.
This is what I am doing.
Ma'am, now it is visible.
Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's showing.
Now it is showing, no? Thank God.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the fifth flowchart is the revolutionary movement. And, in different years, different organizations came up, associations came up, right? So this Gadar party was the first one that came into existence, right?
Ma'am.
Sorry. First, second, and then it was the Hisra that came into the revolutionary movement 1, 2, and 3. Gadar party was the first that came into existence in 1913. Fine. Then it was the Hindustan revolutionary association, and the third was Hindustan Socialist Revolutionary Association. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. 1924 and 1928. 1924 and 1928. I hope it is clear to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine.
What was this? HRA.
Hindustan Revolutionary Association was known as HRA, no? Republican, sorry, it is not revolutionary, it is Republican.
Ma'am, I have done.
Republican. Okay. Hindustan Socialist Republican Association and Hindustan Republican Association. Tanishka, do the corrections, beta.
Yes, ma'am.
Do the correction. It is not revolutionary, it is Republican. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, done.
Ma'am, done.
Okay. Do we have Goranch in the class?
Ma'am, done. Ma'am. Ma'am, done.
Beta, let everyone finish. Is everyone done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
चलिए all are done with the flowchart, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
those
ma'am.
who were not there, those who were not there in the previous classes, they need to ensure that they have completed the previous flowcharts as well. Fine?
Okay, ma'am.
Fine, class? Yes.
Ma'am, you have sent it on D group.
Beta, it was done in the class. So the class recording has everything in it. Fine?
Okay, ma'am.
Ha. Okay. Now, see, what do you know about the nationalist movement? If you could tell. Yes, class. Who would tell this? Yes, what is this nationalist movement? Who will tell me? Anyone in the class? Who knows? बताइए बेटा.
This was the time when British imperialism growth was started.
This was the time when the
Growth of British has started.
no. Nationalism was the time. It is a time period when people realized that the British, those who were there, they were they were like they were exploiting the Indians. They were ruling over the country. They were using all the resources of the country. They were not letting the countrymen use their own resources. Right? Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we can say that this was
Yes, ma'am.
we can say that this was the time period when many of the Indians, politically they became conscious in the country, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, when if you remember the first flowchart that we did, it was about the moderates, radicals, and the Gandhian era. See, whenever we talk of the nationalist movement, we always say that the nationalist movement is divided into three eras. The first era was of the intellectuals, of the moderates. These were those people who were very learned people, and they believed that if they will become part of the British government, then they will be able to bring changes. Yes, Akshat, what is your problem, beta? Why crying? Akshat Raj?
I'm sorry, ma'am, by mistake, ma'am. I'm trying for 20 minutes to join the class.
Beta,
And ma'am,
everyone
now
was
I am
struggling.
joining.
Even I was struggling. My class had started, but that connectivity, it was showing continuously connectivity. It took 7 minutes to get the connectivity into the class. So there, we all know that everyone is facing some or the other problem, right? My second device
Yes, ma'am.
took me exactly 8 minutes to connect. Right, Zainab? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Fine. So these moderates, these were the people who believed that if they become part of the British governance, then only they'll be able to bring changes in the system, the way the British were ruling. They will better understand the policies of the British. But there were other group that thought that being part of the governance will mean that they have to work under them, serve them. So this was something which again the second group that was there, the extremists or the radicals, so-called radicals, these people did not believe in that. They said that it is better to have Swaraj, self-rule, and then go for changes in the entire setup. Why anyone who does not belong to the country has to control us, and why we have to go as per what they are wishing? So why not have self rule? Why not rule ourselves? Fine. I hope I am clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now, yes, beta. Two people are in waiting room. Just a second. Let me check who is there. This issue is a big problem actually. Can't help it. चलिए, इतना clear हुआ सबको?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, see, we all know that INC, Indian National Congress, was the first so-called, association that where, all the nationalist leaders, those who were there, they came collectively to fight the British regime, right? Now,
Yes, ma'am.
before that, like before INC came into being, there were many associations that came up, but then these associations could not have a very good control over the large number of people. Like these associations were confined to only. Yes, Pranjali wants to say something. Pranjali?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So several associations came up, like the Landholders Society, Bengal British Indian Society, Madras Native Association, Bombay Association. But all these associations, they could not do much for the upliftment. So ultimately, A.O. Hume, he was a British civil officer, retired British civil officer. He actually guided the Indians to form a large base association where these people could fight the cause whatever their causes were, to come into association. So they said that if you will have a broad based organization, then you can better express your views, your opinions about the British governance. So ultimately this INC came into being in the year 1885. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
this,
ma'am.
yes beta.
Ma'am, please explain me national movement again.
Nothing I have explained in national movement, beta. It is just that politically, when people became conscious about the British, about self governance, then they started struggling for the independence, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Ah.
Yes, ma'am.
So this Indian National Congress, it was see, most of the people, the intellectual people, they were part of this INC, right? So before we start with the INC movement, let us read the first 5 paragraphs that we have. So can we have Manya doing?
Okay, ma'am.
Manya, can you read for me, beta?
Ma'am, from where?
From the beginning of the chapter, bacha.
The Indians had suffered for a long time under the oppressive rule of the British. Gradually, the educated Indians realized that allowing the British to settle in India had been detrimental to the interests of the Indians. The British took advantage of regional conflicts which prevailed within the country following the disintegration of the Mughal Empire and established a vast empire in India. Growth of national consciousness. A significant feature of British rule in India was the economic exploitation of the Indians. Many foreigners had come to India and taken away wealth even prior to the British, but the British drained the resources of India in a most systematic and unjust way. The nation as a whole was reduced to a mere subsistence level without any hope of relief in the future. This economic exploitation was a major cause behind the rise of nationalism in India. The rise of the Indian press and literature, as well as improvement in transport and communication, also contributed to the emergence of nationalism. Early associations. When national consciousness.
Yes, beta.
May I read?
Okay. Chalo, let Zainab read, Manya. Thank you so much, Bucha. Yes, Zainab, continue.
Early associations. When national consciousness
Consciousness.
awakened
Beta, it is consciousness. Okay?
awakened among Indians, several associations were formed even prior to the foundings of the Indian National Congress to give vent to the feelings of Indians. Some of the early political associations included the first political association to be formed was the Landholders Society at Calcutta in 1838. In 1843, the Bengal British Indian Society was formed. The Madras Native Association and the Bombay Association were established in 1852. Yet there were no all India organizations. The earlier associations, though regional in the character, played an important role in the growth of political consciousness among the masses.
Beta,
Consciousness.
Yes.
Consciousness among the masses.
Yes.
With the establishment of the Indian National Congress in 1885, a platform was prepared for an organized national movement. Indian National Movement, 1885.
Yes, okay, wait. Now, this Indian national movement, this will tell you about the moderates, right? Moderates were the people who were intellectual, very intelligent. They were the people, who could analyze the policies of the British, and they had the courage to criticize their policies also. That is why many of the intellectuals, those who were there, they were stopped from sharing their opinion on the British policies that were there, right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Carry on. Okay, wait. Can we have wait? Can we have Divyanshu reading? Divyanshu, are you there? Divyanshu,
Yes, ma'am.
please read, beta.
Ma'am, from where?
From where? Indian National Movement.
Indian National Movement from 1885 to 1905. The moderates. A new era in the political life of India began with the foundation of the Indian National Congress in 1885. The Indian National Congress was founded by A.O. Hume, a retired Indian civil service officer. Its first session was held on 28th December 1885 and Vomesh Chandra Banerjee was elected as its president. The first phase of the freedom movement was confined only to the educated classes. The Indian National Congress submitted the grievances in the form of prayers and petitions. The early demands of the Indian National Congress included: point number one, increased participation in the Legislative Assembly,
Yes.
Indianization of the civil service,
Very good.
reduction of military expenditure and tax burden, and providing more funds for educating Indians.
Divyanshu, wait. Thank you so much. Very good. Now see, these were the 4 demands of the moderates. First was that they wanted more participation in the Legislative Assembly. As I told you, they wanted to be part of the government, and they thought that being part of the government, they can bring changes as per as the need was, right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Yes.
they also wanted that the British should, they should give certain relaxations in the civil services to the Indians. More and more Indians should be given chance to participate in the civil services. Then they wanted that whatever expenditure they were doing on the military expenses and the tax that they were taking from the Indians, that should be reduced. Less should be taken, because see, even the military expense and the taxes that were collected by the British, everything they were taking from the Indians only. So Indians were tired of these heavy burdens of spending on the spending their money on the military expenses, also giving share of their revenue. plus the taxes that they had to give, right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Yes,
then
ma'am.
they wanted that more funds should be given to the education, then to the military. More funds should be, arranged for the education for the Indians, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now
Yes, ma'am.
they did not demand independence. Now see, the worst thing that moderates had to face, from the people was that they never thought of getting independence from the British control. They always wanted to be part of the British governance. So they did not demand independence in the early stages of the freedom movement. Most of these early congressmen believed in constitutional methods and were humble and mild in their criticism of the British government. They were known as the moderates, right? These were known as the मॉडरेट्स. इनको हम नरम दल, नरम पंथी कहते थे. जैसे हिंदी में गरम दल और नरम दल हुआ करते थे, ऐसे इनको हम लोग नरम पंथी बोलते थे, बिकॉज दे वर वेरी मॉडरेट. वॉट एवर दे डिमांडेड, दे वर क्वाइट मॉडरेट इन दैट. इनका जो अप्रोच था टुवर्ड्स द ब्रिटिश कंट्रोल और द गवर्नेंस, दैट वाज वेरी मॉडरेट. So that is why by whatever they did, they were called by the names of moderates. I hope I am clear up till here.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
these early
Yes.
nationalists, these early nationalists, those who were there, they recognized the value of freedom of press. Now, many of the acts were brought by the British to control the public opinion of the Indians. Like एक vernacular press act आया था. उस vernacular press act में the British government, stopped they had put censorship. उन्होंने कहा कि कोई भी इंडियन जो है न्यूज़पेपर्स जो है वो उसमें पब्लिकली ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट को कंट्रोल, ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट को क्रिटिसाइज नहीं करेंगे. एंड इफ दे विल डू सो, देयर what do you call this, freedom, their press, what do you call it, the freedom that is given to them to express, that will be cancelled, and their newspaper will be shut down. So many of the British policies were such, many acts were brought by the British where they stopped the Indians in expressing their views. फिर एक इल्बर्ट बिल आया, ठीक है. उसके बाद कई कई सारे ऐसे इस तरीके के प्रोविजंस आए, इस तरीके के एक्ट्स आए बाय द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि भाई इंडियंस जो है उनके ऊपर कंट्रोल करना चाहा. दे डिड नॉट, दे एक आर्म्स एक्ट आया था जिसमें कि उन्होंने कहा कि इंडियंस जो है आर्म्स अपने साथ गोली, अपने साथ बंदूक नहीं रख सकते हैं. सो दिस वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल. भाई हम अपनी रक्षा के लिए, अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए तो रख ही सकते हैं, बट उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, कोई भी इंडियन जो है अपने साथ आर्म्स या एमिनिशन नहीं रखेगा, ठीक है. स्पेशली बंदूक वगैरह जो पिस्टल्स होती है छोटी वाली, उनको नहीं रखेगा, ठीक है. फिर ये हुआ कि भाई जो इंडियन एक एक बिल पास हुआ, मतलब बहुत सारे ऐसे एक्ट्स बनाए इन लोगों ने जिससे कि इंडियंस जो थे हमेशा आउटरेज्ड फील करते थे कि भाई ये चीज गलत है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, राइट. देन working within the constitutional limits, it tried to awaken and organize Indian public opinion. It attempted to arouse political consciousness and the national spirit of the Indians, and to educate and unite them on political questions. ठीक है, बहुत सारी चीजें इन लोगों ने करी, but then most of the things that were initiated by the moderates were not welcomed by the Indians. ठीक है, बहुत लोगों को समझ में नहीं इसलिए आया क्योंकि they were not, see, the way the moderates were appealing to the British government, that was not acceptable by the Indians. That is why and moreover, कई बार ऐसा होता है ना कि हम किसी भी चीज की बहुत अच्छा देखते हैं, उसका खराब फेस नहीं देखते हैं. तो because British, they never said that we will not give this to you. They always said, okay, we are looking into it, we will look into that, we will look into this. So they kept on passing on, they kept on telling Indians that we are thinking over your demands, we are thinking over your petitions that you have given to us. And these moderates, they kept on giving petitions, and in written they were asking everything. So the British, they kept on shifting, they kept on convincing them, okay, we will do this, okay, give us some time, give us this much time, give us that much time. So because of this, ultimately the indifferent behavior of the British that was there, and the continued economic exploitation that the British were doing, ultimately these the Indians had to go for a second mode of convincing. That was the extremists, those who were there, the radicals, the so-called radicals, they had to come into the picture once the moderates lost their faith in the British. system. Right? Right,
Yes,
class?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, growth of extremism. Now, these a section of congressmen who had lost faith in the British government, they began to drift towards the extremism. ये जो आपके जो radicals थे, these people, they were a group जिनको कि गरमपंथी कहा जाता था. गरमपंथी इसलिए कहा जाता था that they were very aggressive, in their approach they were very aggressive. ये बहुत ही मतलब they were of such mindset कि इनको जो है कुछ भी immediately चाहिए होता था और ये ज्यादा टाइम तक वेट नहीं कर सकते थे, है ना. इनको लगता था कि कोई भी अगर आपको काम करना है तो इट शुड बी डन इन फ्रैक्शंस ऑफ सेकंड. देयर शुड बी नो लिंगरिंग ऑन. जैसे मॉडरेट्स की हर पिटिशन और हर डिमांड और हर प्रेयर को ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट सेड नो, ओके वी विल थिंक ओवर इट, वी आर थिंकिंग ओवर इट, वी विल डू दिस, वी विल डू दैट. So likewise, there were several other people who these extremists, those who were there, they felt that British government is not very, it is not giving proper ear to their demands, to their petitions. So there is no point of writing again and again to them. They said, now whatever we want, we will demand for it. We will not wait for their answers. We will either try to get it on our own, or we will try to pressurize the British government to go for the same. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then these extremists, those who were there, they rightly demanded for Swaraj, self rule. They said, see, if you cannot, we don't want to be part of your governance. What we want is you give us self rule. You give us at least a handful of at least something that we can take care of ourselves. Don't bound us for several things. Allow us to be on our own. So this was the only demand that these extremists had put. A section of congressmen who had lost faith in the British government began to drift towards extremism. This radical fraction of the Congress came to be known as extremists. Their main aims and objectives included opposition to the ideology and techniques of the moderates. They did not like the way the moderates were, dealing with the British government. Their preference not to get out of the Congress, but to capture it from within. Then they wanted that their present not to get out, means whatever their preferences were, that they said that it should be within the Congress only. Why we will ask anybody else for the same? The absolute autonomy for Indian, unlike the goal of the moderates to attain colonial form of self government. They never wanted to have to be part of the British government. Rather, they wanted that they should have the right to have self control of the governance. They demanded Swaraj, which meant self rule. See, Lal, Bal, Pal, they were the three gems of this extremist group. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal. Right? Right, class?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then बाल गंगाधर तिलक डिक्लेयर्ड दैट द स्वराज इज, आपने कई बार सुना होगा ना कि बाल गंगाधर तिलक ने ये कहा था कि स्वराज मेरा जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार है और मैं उसे लेकर ही रहूंगा. सुना होगा आपने कई बार ये, दैट स्वराज इज माय बर्थराइट, आई शैल हैव इट. हाँ जी. सो द leaders of the extremists, they were like Bal Gangadhar Tilak in Maharashtra, Bipin Chandra Pal in Bengal, and Lala Lajpat Rai in Punjab. These were quite prominent in their own areas, and people were so influenced by them. Many of the revolutionaries, they also agreed to the ways the extremists were working. Though the revolutionaries did not, connect to the ideologies of the moderates, rather they wanted that what the extremists were doing, they can easily contribute to them, because they could relate to their mindset. Whatever their mindset was, they could easily relate to them. I hope I am clear up till here.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.